any design process must start with what exists. And so whether that is for a farmer who has a large cattle grazing property and this is his prime income, how does the permaculture design add to that system? Or maybe start with the household economy of the farmer. And if that was more resilient, if the farm was maybe producing more of itself, the farmer might not be so sense of dependent on is the production going to be successful. So there's many different ways, or it may be looking at the debt situation, and there may be quite radical, challenging solutions that maybe a portion of the farm needs to be sold to clear the debt, so you can then start designing things according to your own agenda rather than the bank's agenda. So just looking at that even within the life of a particular person, there are so many different ways to look at it as a design problem, but all of those have to start with whatever exists. So similarly, at a global scale, we need to recognise that any larger solutions depend on how we model that through change at the personal and the local level, and then we build those up, and that organises into a larger productive change. So anything that attempts to build a grand plan and do everything from scratch is not likely to succeed in my view. The other thing to recognise is that there's a limited number of people who will be motivated by fundamental values change without there being an urgent necessity for change. But if those people put in place working models, then when the larger ecological, economic, practical demands for change are there, then these solutions are available. And that means they will then, there's the possibility of them being taken up. Whereas when the current systems, for example, of centralised just-in-time food supply are supplying most people with what might be junk, crap, food that's exploiting the land, but it's a reliable food supply. And so most people are not going to change while that is still reliable. But when it is unreliable, they need the examples, the working models. So it can be that the activists can see the need to, how do we get the message out, when maybe it might be, can we refine and make the solutions we have working that much better? So, because we've seen situations where there can be this change, this opening, and people rush for the solutions and they're very impatient and they want the answer. And of course the answer is complex because it will be different in different places, and that might have to be evolved or experimented with. So the better those solutions are, the more robust they are, the more they can be copied by people with urgent need, then the greater the chance of adoption. So I'm saying, in a sense, to focus on the internal work and the practical solution work, and be aware in over-the-horizon thinking of the big forces that are at work, but not be too concerned with trying to directly change those big forces, but be ready for the openings.